Our second panel of the day, the topic is design-driven sustainable business.
Good morning, everybody. So, the first element is social sustainability for business win. So here what you see is when an industrial big group like Legrand goes for social sustainability to go from no sales to the best seller of the year, to have an item that is so effective and inspirational that has been copied by several other industrial groups that I want to mention, and where design for all, so social sustainability, express itself in interfaces that are visual, tactile, and the cognitive part is extra easy and comfortable, and we have the hidden hierarchy. So basically you use that to go from a tough challenge to a win, and you get the industrial win. And of course the Compasso d'Oro, the Golden Compass, honorable mention, and the design for all quality. This one is when environmental sustainability is used for business win. You have a set or a family of sustainable packaging that solves the problem of overpackaging and overcosts. So you go from a medium of 50 yuan per pack to an average of 10 yuan per pack, but having more protection for fragile items and portability, having complete, unique, fashionable, and reusable packaging. So instead of, remember the classical, like, wine, big cardboard boxes that you receive as a present, and then what happens is that you open it, you say, oh, cool, and then how do I throw it the quickest possible? Then this doesn't happen here. So you can use it and you reuse it. The outside part you can go shopping with, and the inside part you can stack your bottles at home. And 2 utility patents, 2 innovation patents. So sustainability is a business win. And then you can go big systems. So the food value chain has a big impact for sustainability on the 3 pillars: environmental, social, cultural, tradition, and economical. And so this is an ongoing project. The previous ones are already on the market. This is ongoing. And you go from, we are going for a new vegan, vegetarian, flexitarian, synergic offer. And this is when you want to bring this sustainable development for business systems and use the value chain, the industrial value chain or the industrial supply chain to implement it. It is ongoing still. We are in the prototyping phase, so I cannot show you basically anything. And basically we are doing non-disruptive innovation for medium enterprise, which are business to business industrial sector. And the answer will be expressed by the 4 groups within the value chain. So you have the 4 companies are working together. Less than 3 minutes. Oppo, go, you have it.
Hey, okay, so I'm gonna start some. Yeah.
The reason why we go so quick is that we wanted to share with you our way to be sustainable for business, and then we have questions and discussions.
Yeah. So I'll start with something more traditional, easier to understand. So I guess the reason why I'm bringing this up is I think the image is pretty clear what Oppo is trying to do, right? We reduce the plastic use, recycling the materials, more environment friendly. The reason why I bring this page up is more like because where we are, I think if we look at the past decade, like economy booming is like a big thing in China, and we do whatever it takes. But now it's kind of shifting, even audience or consumers in China are starting to have this awareness about environment. So it is a pretty big thing for a Chinese brand start to care about environment, start thinking about sustainability. And by doing this, I think in the world, as a mobile tech company, like we are the third one able to achieve that. So especially for a brand try to go global, it's pretty interesting. And then I think after we look internally, like what do we do in the world, it's like, I think sustainability is really about combining force. It's like, so as Oppo, as a global brand, we work with United Nations product development. Okay, yeah. Yeah, so basically we use funding, we work with the United Nations, we did a whole growing projects, we look young startups, entrepreneurs who are focusing on developing solutions for sustainability or environment protections. So we do a jury, we select them, we put in funding to support them. We help them to build more successful or sustainable business model to help those entrepreneurs to grow. And also, when it comes to what we do as a product, like cell phone nowadays, apart from communication, like photography and videotaping is a huge thing. So we collaborate with National Geographic. So using our camera lens, our technology to document the species that needs more attention, also needs more protection or from other audience. As you can see a publicity for both environmental also as our product. So it's like, it's product marketing with PR and sustainability. So based on the project we did with United Nations, as a starting point, we decided to do a long-term, a huge project building we call Inspiration Matters, or the other way we call Inspiration Proposal. So we look world range, large scales. We go through all the entrepreneurs. We encourage startups to think about technology innovation solutions for the future. For a long time period, we collecting so many data or so many proposals from other smaller startups. So they can either bring social issues, environmental issues, or they can directly bring solutions. And we pick the ones that we think we can support. We give them fundings, we partner with them, we help them to build business models. So like I think we start with something, we are doing something more traditional, but also from a digital way or digital age, we are thinking about doing something like as a combination with other social impacts to support sustainability. I think, yeah. Yeah, and I think at the end, we can look back, like most of the people we support are very early age of career, like those startups. So our focus is more help the young generations. You know, the ones that are in the business for long term, we have to understand how business runs, how the business model runs, but how to help young generations of companies or startup to successfully building something in the sustainable environment is something we are really aiming for or aiming for. Then I think Luca.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for the colleagues that preceded me for their contribution. So today I will try to explain how a sustainable design drive to a sustainable business on the application on the field of the retail and commercial projects. So most of the time when people speak about sustainable architecture, think about designing energy-saving buildings or using materials with low carbon emissions, which are definitely the key factors to achieve to a sustainable architecture. But economics actually plays the fundamental role, especially nowadays in the current time, in our historic time, and especially when it comes to commercial project, right? So the ultimate goal for the retail industry is to develop strategies that somehow support and support to save the planet and its people, but meanwhile generate healthy and sustainable profits, because that's the thing, right? Companies needs to survive. Most of our clients try to go for a design approach that is based on a high leasable area ratio. that kind of path, it doesn't always lead to successful projects. We have seen so many times empty malls, thousands of square meters of commercial projects, that so-called ghost towns, that left unleased after a few months from their opening. And that's just because customers are not attractive to that places anymore. Generation changes, and so need to do the design and the commercial places. So people say, what could be the solution? And today we are talking about the metaverse as an extension, in my opinion, of the online stores. That may be an option. It's definitely an environmental, there's definitely some benefit under an environmental point of view. That the risk is to create some, how you can call that, social alienation, right? It's a time and cost saving option, but that sacrifices the overall customer shopping experience. So as well as the connection between the brand, the product, and the people. So, in my opinion, let's say the final solution, or one possible solution that we try to pursue, is a combination of social and environment approach. This means trying to redefine and rethinking the commercial spaces on a human scale, suitable for all ages, so to promote the social integration and to provide customers with a different shopping experience, which is more relaxed, more enjoyable, and that gives the ability to meet with new people. In this case, in this way, the shopping activity reached the level and the feeling of leisure. So those are the tools that, first of all, increase and strengthen the customer loyalty, and so, how to say, lead to a higher footfall and revenues from, for the project itself. Now, this is very strictly to, how to say, a social point of view, which we believe in this case, I will be very quick to explain this picture. All right, so we can talk later. We can talk later about that. Thank you.
Il microfono ce l'ho. Schiaccio il verde.
Cecilia allora.
Cecilia, dai.
Okay, well, it's me.
Lady first.
Thank you. Thank you very much for inviting. And when April and you guys approached me with a team of design driven to sustainable business, I was thinking about a word that could describe our practice as architects, and that would be multiplicity, because it's true we are working on architecture and urban planning, but we are also working on research, exhibition, and cultural events, all to promote the biodiversity within the city. And, but maybe we are mostly known for our vertical forest in Milan, a prototype of architecture that is integrating trees and other living things, and trees and plants not just a mere decoration, but as an integral part of the building. So these two towers, which were built in 2014, are hosting more than 800 trees, 5,000 bushes, more than 15,000 little plants and perennials. And this was a new prototype of biodiversity architecture, which is not just based on human, but also
on the relationship that human needs to have with other living beings within the city. So we know now, after a few years, the benefits of the vertical forest in terms of production of oxygen and absorption of the pollutants. But maybe this is the most valuable picture that I can show. This is a picture taken from the European Space Agency in July 2022 this year, which is showing the heat of the land surface in the city of Milan. And therefore, this picture is highlighting the heat reduction contribution made by tree within the city, and one of the points of lower land temperature is actually where vertical forest is placed. So we are also working very hard to local adaptation, both culturally and in terms of biodiversity. So every time we are approaching a new design, we are trying to implement what we do. But we are also looking locally, so we select a specific typology of autochthonous species for the tree, we grow them nearby, and also we adapt to the local culture. So for instance, this is vertical forest Wangang, we just inaugurated it last year, is near Wuhan, and in this case the client was not so sure that people in Wangang might love to stay in the balcony at the open air as we Italians love to do. And so we came up with this design using these boxes which are extending the living space of the inside, but you can still benefit to see and to perceive the canopy of your neighborhood or yours once. And last but not least, we are also trying to improve on the social and economic point of view, because this is just an example of what we are working now. It's vertical forest in Eindhoven is the first prototype of vertical forest social housing, which we have worked on a system of prefabricated posts to lower down the cost of construction. And the posts that you can see here, they were just hang onto the main structure. The residential square meter are smaller than the one in Milan because this structure was predominantly supposed to host young people and young workers. So this is just some of the things that we are doing in order to make our business sustainable in terms of socially, economically, and environmentally. Grazie.
Allora, vediamo un po'. Ecco qua. Thank you, first of all, to Carlo to invite myself that represent one logistic company. So how can match one logistic company activity or purpose respect the architecture and the environment? There is some connection. Savino del Bene is one company with 120 years of activity. In this case, the environmental or sustainability is one important issue for the present, but for the future. When Avril contact me, ask 3 words to start this short speech. The 3 words, there are Savino del Bene, sustainable achievement. This is not that I create for this occasion. It's in our plan, in our photo print. So, because we pursue this kind of road. Why? Because you know the situation of the environmental problem around the world, including the transportation, is one critical issue. So our company follow the ESG, environmental, social governance, and I can say we follow also what is one theory expressed by Klaus Schwab, that is the founder and executive chairman of the World Economy Forum of Davos, that is progress, people, and planet. So those three words represent a different view of the approach the business, in the sense that our company, usually they follow the shareholder, so the profit, the quarterly result. In this case, there is a difference in shareholder and stakeholders. So means that you have to refer not only to the profit, but to the environment around your company. E Savino Del Bene is doing this. In fact, we have our pillar, that is health and safety. Sorry, perché se no, health and safety, respect of the environment, corporate ethics and compliance, community involvement, integrity and safety in international shipment. So if we want to enter in the specific of the shipment, we can find that we have in this moment the constraint. The constraint is CO2 reduction to the carbon neutrality. So for the ocean shipment, now also according to the IMO rule, we have to, the company, the shipping line, they have to use in the future or gas or hydrogen. For their shipment, the innovation is the SAF. SAF means the sustainable aviation fuel, and the rail, the renewable energy. So those three objectives, there are pursuit of our company. That maybe we can explain later. Thank you.
Yes. So I want especially to thank so much our panelists, because I gave them the impossible task of you need to express sustainability in your business or in your activity in 3 minutes. And I have to say that they really did a huge job in giving us so much inspiration in so little time. It was very clear. You have all deeply impressed me. Thank you. And thank you for the host for inviting us. And I think that this display of quality and excellence from the Italian industrial world is warming my heart since I am Italian. So thank you for the soul within. I was taking notes. Sorry, I'm a bit of a nerd, obviously, professor. And I wanted to ask some questions. We have maybe short of a half an hour for questions, and then I would love to open to the audience for a more interactive experience. So I wanted to ask to Susan maybe, what do you think is the relationship between design, business, through sustainability, now that things have changed so much with the digital since you are working with Oppo?
Yeah, that's a great question.
Too big of a question?
Yeah, and I think also like design, sustainability, business, the arrange, the order, how you put those three words come out with something very different. But I guess and also those three words are pretty big in general in a way, but when you put them together, you sort of have a vision. So I think compare with what other speakers talk about, I think extensibility to consumer most of the time when it's very physical, like when it's related word with reduce, recycling is easier to understand. But we are in a digital world that there's so much more about it. So that means, like, as a brand, you need to take responsibility to think about it. Like, so when we build a brand, we build a business, usually we talk about build a user general, right? A journey to put the audience or consumers through. But in digital world, like for example, I think how much electricity one Google search consumers takes is equal as if you light a regular light bulbs for 18 seconds. So it's very abstract to people, but it doesn't mean it's not important. Yeah, and when you come to a business, what we're talking about today is, because if you, like for public to think about extensibility, you always come to responsibility, we're doing something for good, but it feels like you are compromised, right? When the supermarket stop giving plastic bags, it's not convenient. The first time we switch light bulbs, they don't shine as light as the old ones. So as a business, what do? I think now is a huge role or huge responsibility for us through a design point of view to design something that is sustainable, but also user-friendly. So you don't want to reduce the user experience in order to protect the environment, because at the end of the day, you are doing business to make money. So you need to keep doing that. So that comes to when we design brand image. And also, like that's why from Oppo point of view, we talk about so much work with young entrepreneurs through digital age, because as cliche as it is, people consume stuff because they believe in it. Like when we say you are what you wear, right? So you buy stuff based on what you want to be. So now at the point that everybody is thinking about environment protection, so when you build a business, like when you design a business, that needs to be your starting point to think about it, because you want to build a brand that people want to be part of. So it is a responsibility, but the other way, it is how you build a brand image. And the social media, digital age, too, when you express it, when people get it, they want to be part of your brand. I think that's how you make your business sustainable as well. Yeah.
I think that this is so interesting. What I got from there, that's your phone. But they are durable, right? We saw that. Is that you are proposing to use design in two main things to factor in sustainability and business. One is as a strategy implementator, to implement a certain type of strategy in a synergic way in the business. And the other one is to create a cool, fashionable, must-have, so that sustainability wins as the big markets, as always design have had.
Yes, because like when we talk about like sustainability, there's so much, like you talk about innovation, you talk about like science research. It's always about how a brand needs to spend budget on working on reduce like certain costs or to protect the environment. But the other way around, like at this, everything is so graphically, everything is so all about imagery, everything is so always about marketing nowadays. To produce or build like a fashionable, attractive brand image that people want to be part of, it almost become not a better solution, a equalized, like a parallel solution for sustainability. Obviously, you want to try to reduce as much as possible. But at this time period, the other way is, because basically we look at production, right? When we look at manufacturing, we are trying to fix what we did before. That's fixing, right? But also the other side, like you talk about, we can build something new through the new platforms. We can build new experiences. So it's a different thinking strategy, but also it's a different experience for our audience. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Luca, can I maybe ask you, because I'm sorry I cut you short before. I am a ruthless moderator.
No, you did your job very well, no problem.
Sorry for that. So you were telling us about how, you were explaining very well how your point of view on how social integration, social inclusion, social activity can actually, so working on human behavior can actually help in not only having a thriving business, but also saving or reducing the footprint, the environmental footprint. So if I understood correctly, what you were showing to us, yours and your company vision for retail is to work on human behavior so that to create an ecosystem where humans and business help environmental sustainability. Maybe you would love
That's
to
correct.
explain to us a little bit more.
Yeah, that's exactly the point. I mean, too many times clients, our clients, so the developers or the landlords of the commercial project, are focused on how to maximize the cost and how to maximize the land. And so many times they are so blind by this kind of path that they forget the ultimate goal is to satisfy the customers. To satisfy the customers is to give them, I speak of course for the retail experience, for the retail industry, which is different again from the residential part. To satisfy the customers, we need to provide them with a new shopping experience. And for example, technology, it's helping on that. It's not something that we don't pursue. We just think that there is always a balance for everything. The online stores are, for some point of view, they definitely help on achieving a sustainable business. It's just that, as discussing before, we need some balance. Sustainable business cannot go only on one side. And if these, so the online stores, can lead to sacrifice the social integration, that it's something that we need to think about it. So in our understanding, also, it's not possible just to use all the land you have to maximize the leasable area. That is going to end up like so many buildings around in China, especially, that are just empty, as I said before, some ghost towns. So creating some spaces where people can have a different kind of activity than just the shopping itself, but enlarge the visual of the shopping activity to extend to leisure time. That is going to be something that customers are more willing to accept as a different kind of shopping experience. And what we need to do is to make in places that attract people, that keep people from the daily stressing life so fast, so quick. So we need to design places in a more human scale. That's the point of, let's say, a low density places. That's exactly the meaning. Giving people a place where chill down, cool down, having a different kind of activity that they have during the weekdays, not the tram, not the fast moving, and why not? Try to connect them together. And by doing this, also the brand will get the benefit because it's all related on the footfall. So how many people the places can get. People meaning money, because once they get into the place, they spend their money. And they get what they want. They get leisure time, they get nice time, they get to know people, and that's all the 360-degree experience we are looking for.
So on one side, you are telling us, if I understood correctly, that those big areas of retail, if they have, again, maybe a soul, if they have a must-have design, more than talking about the building, more about the service. So the ecosystem of the services inside, how the product of the retail is integrated in a synergic service to make the footfall,
Yes,
the footfall increase, and so helping the business. But that is clear. I wanted to ask you a little question that I have here. Is online retailing or purchasing, do you think that this is really sustainable if you consider the logistics? So the,
Well,
you know,
exactly.
and
This,
the over-packaging. Because at the beginning, in your presentation, you have this, there are the ghost towns, and we have the solution to that, you, who can provide a synergetic experience, the service, the product, the retail. And so you solved, through design, the ghost town problem. So fantastic, we're happy. Social, environmental, economically sustainable.
Yes.
And then you say, but also online, it's a sustainable solution. And I was thinking, what about the logistics? What about the overpackaging? Just to
All right. So I answer first to the first part of your question. By trying to redesign, rethinking the spaces on a human scale, so avoid these high-density buildings, it's not only a service for the customers themselves, it's also a service to the tenant. Because, for example, thinking about our malls, which we create these squares where tenants itself, they can use to provide customers for some event or social event or social activity. I don't know, sorry if I say some brand, for any sport brand, Adidas or Lululemon, they use these places to make an open event to everybody, and then this catch more customer, not just for Lululemon, but for the whole mall. Right? This is a social activity that benefits not just the brand. The brand benefit because of the image, but the overall mall benefit because of the footfall. About the logistic, well, there is one thing Mr. Savino Del Bene said before, how the logistic is connected to the sustainable architecture. Well, sustainable architecture is, there is something called LCA, which is the life cycle assessment of the building, which goes from the design or even the evaluation of the land to the construction site. And in the middle, there is the logistic. So in order to evaluate if a project is sustainable or not only an architectural project, any kind of project, is it sustainable or not, needs to be evaluated in 360 degree. So the online part, if you think about the cost of the offline store, it saves, and the time that it saves and the land that it saves, it is an option. It's just not the option, because there is not only one way. As in everything in life, there is not only one way, right? It's the combination of them that make the project success. And that's why the online store need to be, for sure, need to be considered as an option, but cannot be the only one, for sure.
Now it's very clear to me. Thank you, that is so interesting. Marco, I wanted to, we have seen how you have integrated in your company, how your old and established company is integrating social integration, social sustainability within its own people, and sustainability projects and CSR, so corporate social responsibility activity. How do you think is this kind of work and this kind of market going in China specifically? Because Savino Del Bene has the headquarters in Italy. So I wanted to know which is your program for China?
Thank you for the question. The problem of China, what I show is what happens in this moment mainly in Italy, Europe, and USA, because there are some regulation that require to the company, not only to the logistic, but also for our client to proceed in this way. In the sense, for example, some company, they have the requirement of the balance sheet where inside there is the part of the environmental problem, so how they solve this problem. Our client, especially the client in the fashion, they request to us to move in this way. So we are, I don't want to say obliged, but is the common way to achieve some objective. For China, personally, I see that regarding such kind of topics, we are still far. In the sense, probably some company, some big company in the manufacture or in the retail, they are doing, but in the logistic is not something really utilized daily. For example, the problem of the SFF, the Sustainable Aviation Fuel, this rule is becoming mandatory in Europe and in USA. This means, for example, that the forwarder has to buy this kind of fuel, and there is for the carrier, not for ourselves. So it's something that you buy on behalf of the carrier. And there is some special record, the procedure to work on this. But the problem is that this practically is one biofuel. In this moment is not, there is not too much production. And so is what is the target for the future. In China, in this moment, there is only one company, because also the Chinese carrier, there are IATA associates, so they have to follow this rule. But in this moment, there is only one refined company in Zhejiang for Sinochem that produce this fuel. So for me, in China, we still far respect this concept. Even there is these two targets, 2030 and 2060. They are working on this because they bought all the gas in Qatar in this moment, so we have some problem in Europe. But respect this kind of procedure, we are still far. Also because the Chinese company, our competitor, they are not sensitive about this. So we are in one situation where the foreigner company, there are in different treatment or different position respect the Chinese company.
Thank you so much. Now is really clear. And if I have understood correctly, what I got from this is that the sustainability, the environmental sustainability and the social sustainability programs that you are able to implement in other markets are an expression of two elements. A top-down element from the governments. There are certain type of laws and regulations that kind of, if not impose, warmly suggest and maybe highly incentivize a certain type of behavior. And on the other side, there is your industrial chain, your B2B, your business-to-business industrial chain, which for the same reasons asks you to perform and to comply on both the social and the environmental sustainability, because they will use your compliancy for their own spreadsheet, for their own eco points or social points. So we could say that there is an industrial chain pull for this kind. So what you are wishing for, and you see some, you were citing about the gas production and the one company in China, you are seeing maybe a trend that is growing to build also here in an industrial chain pull to get to a situation, an ecosystem where sustainability is actually something that helps the business because it gives you the right points you need. Do you see this, right?
Yes.
Like a trend?
Yes, there is some sign, but we have to consider, because at the end, the economy law manage create the condition to go ahead. Now, China, everybody knows, is in one situation where the economy is not so good. So probably such kind of topics will be postponed because, first of all, is the GDP. So if there is not a GDP, this is one big problem. So we are in one situation where probably they won't, but according to the general situation, they can't. So this is one problem, one issue that we see from in the first semester after the Chinese New Year of the next year. So we have to see what is the way, the path that the central government choose for the future, also regarding these topics.
So fantastic. You will update us next year.
Yes, of course, of course.
Grazie Marco. Cecilia, I was very impressed by the green dot in the city. So a living, a residential building that works like a natural park. That was maybe, apart from the fact that it's very beautiful to look at, and even if you don't live in it, you don't feel the oppressive urban environment, but you feel like you are in a park, but actually people are living in the park. What would you say are the main characteristics that you feel is really important today to highlight about this vertical forest, and how do you see the future of it or the impacts? There are so many things we have talked in these days. You have so many to choose. I don't know really what to ask. Too many, too interesting.
Okay. Thank you, Avril. Maybe we can start from this image that I choose to bring as one of the 5 today. It was very important for us because that is exactly the reason why Stefano came up with that idea at first. Because in 2008, he was the director of Domus magazine in Milan, and he was doing some research in the Emirates, in Dubai. And meanwhile, now for us even, it's very visible the heat wave that we are experiencing in the city in recent year. Back in 2008, it was not so perceivable. It was like, oh, maybe it's a season with higher temperature than normal, like it's an episode. But in a arid climate as Dubai was, and with all this building construction made in mineral, basically. So you have this facade with glass, as we can also experience here in Shanghai. When you're walking downstairs, these materials are all reflecting the sunlight, and they are projecting at the ground level. This makes life unsustainable, especially if the temperature are rising. So the idea behind was what if we can cover the buildings of our cities with trees, with leaves, and that is why this picture is meaningful to us. We are going in the right way. But this is not the only way that we can contribute. Vertical forest is just, let's say, one tool. Then everything needs to cooperate to achieve a sustainable city. So the government, with project of forestation. In Milan, we have a good example of Forestami, which is promoted by Comune di Milano with all the parks around the city and with the aim of planting a number of trees, but that they are cured, because like if you are not taking care of the trees that you are planting, then they will die. So there is also the topic of the maintenance. And then like we have so many rooftop that could be used as garden, as civic places, as public spaces, malls. Why not a green mall? Also for the building which are abandoned, and now we are trying to study a retrofitting facade method so that you can try to renovate a building which fallen in disuse with vertical forest. And maybe I have to say the bigger challenge that I see in next year, I show you that we are working also towards prefabrication methods to build vertical forests, but maybe the next big goal would be to try to use wood as a structure. So now we have laminated timber, which is a very good material that could be used and could, it's a very great material to lower down the impact of the construction business, which is one of the most pollutant markets together with transportation. So we are trying to work in many different directions and we just need to boost a bit because time is tickling. But we are hopeful for the future, and I think that each one of our business industries can help in that. Like, okay, I love Oppo because it's big and I love the shape, the design, but maybe I'm also buying that instead of another phone because I see your works towards sustainability. Maybe I'm buying in a shop online because I know that when I will receive the pack, I will not find thousands of layers of plastic, but maybe cardboard that, I don't know, I throw it away, it will be biodegradable, it will have seed inside, and I don't know. I'm just like going, but I feel that the perception of the people is one of the basic thing on this matter, because you can choose what to buy and what to consume.
So basically, we can provide examples for inspiration, and then we are waiting for people to fall in love with what we propose and then ask for it. So instead of a pull market, we have a pull people who pull the purchase power, right?
Thank you for your amazing talk.